This is a seated dissociation drill specific for golf movement. We can do a bunch of different variations. One of the simplest is to sit on a Swiss ball. This here would be a 65. You could go 75. Really what you're looking for is to be sitting so that the knees are close to a 90 or maybe just a little bit less than a 90. So you might use a slightly bigger ball. The idea with using the Swiss ball is that there's enough instability that you do have to be active and participate with the lower body, but it does take the lower body out of play to some degree, so it makes more sense or it's easier to sort of anchor with the lower body, in particular the pelvis, while removing the upper thoracic or the upper torso. So the idea behind this is not about stretching. The idea behind this is to understand that if we work our torso perpendicular to our spine and we rotate, we have to be active and connected with our lower body to create an active separation between the pelvis and the upper thoracic. If this is done appropriately, in an appropriate type pattern, you're only going to get somewhere between 30 to 40 degrees of rotation, relative rotation of the upper thoracic relative to a stable pelvis. Okay? So what we're looking for is we're not trying to twist as far as we can twist. When we do that, we tend to lose our connection to the ground, disengage the core, and we're just rotating our shoulders more than we're actually rotating that upper thoracic girdle or that upper torso kind of girdle relative to the core. So what we do here, when we set up, we want to get in a set position. We want our legs connected, our feet connected to the ground, and we want to rotate perpendicular to our spine only until we start to feel a good pull from the lower left hip or lead hip across to across the lower abdominals, but on a diagonal up. So you're kind of inner outer oblique. Now, if we stay engaged here and we stay active here, we rotate with an engagement and an engagement here. We're only going to get about 30 to 40 degrees of rotation, and we're going to feel a pull across our abdominals, right from the lead hip, across the lower abdominals into the upper thoracic region. Okay? So we're just simply going to make rotations. One. Now, even when we come back, we're not just relaxing back. We're here, we come back, we contract these muscles to move the upper thoracic as a unit, again, against the lower body. So we're creating a pre-stretch with an anchor and a contraction with an anchor. The key to this is we're teaching our pelvis to anchor movement for the upper thoracic. That's really important. Now, sitting on the ball, we can isolate the upper thoracic by just taking a club behind our back. Now, it's harder for us to do these independent movements with our shoulders, retract the scap, all kinds of different movements. This kind of sets us in a position where now we can't help but really move our upper thoracic. So if we're having trouble with sort of dissociating, we can put something behind our neck, not really our neck, but our upper back, and do the rotations. Now you really feel, this is all the range of motion I have. I'm not recruiting from shoulder retraction or different types of movement. I'm really working that pelvic girdle against that upper thoracic girdle, okay? And again, contraction back, contraction, contraction back. What you're going to find is, as I move this direction, I'm actually creating a counter torque with my lower body to keep from rolling. When I contract back, that counter torque is in the opposite direction, again, so that I'm not rolling. So we're actually actively using our lower body and starting to learn an appropriate pattern for this. Now, of course, you can use a weighted bar, a wooden dowel. There's all kinds of variations. We're not trying to get strong with this. We're trying to create pattern. Now, if you don't have access to a Swiss ball, the next best thing is a swivel chair. A swivel chair can be used just as easily. Say all the same principles. Again, rotation, and I have to keep active or the whole chair moves. Okay? So in order to create that dissociation pattern, my lower body has to create a counter torque by digging into the ground and anchoring the movement of the upper thoracic. Otherwise, everything moves together. We don't get any real coordination or dissociation between the two body segments. We lose the ability to summate power, summate speed as we move from the ground out. Again, you can use the same implements. We can use a club. So we have a swivel chair and a club. So we can do this in our hotel room if we need to. We're establishing a base. We're rotating against that base, perpendicular to our spine, active lower body, active core, and contracting back. So 1, 2. So the idea, again, is not about how much separation we can get. It's not an upper body movement task. It's a lower body movement task for the most part. Connection to the ground, stability, anchoring at the pelvis, engagement of the core to move the upper thoracic.